Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Real Talk, Real Topics. I am your host, Julian Morales. And this Sunday afternoon, I'd like to just recap some of the posts that I've been posting this week and just give y'all a deeper look and a better understanding of what it is that I'm trying to write within that one paragraph on our Real Talk page. And I figured I'd start doing these every Sunday and just give you guys a recap and more thought behind the post and the short little paragraphs that we're putting. So the one I'm going to pick for last week will be provider versus parent, provider versus being a provider versus being a parent and parenting, right? So with my experiences, as a lot of you know that have been following and listening, and for those of you that are just joining in and getting to know what Real Talk is about and who I am, Julian Morales, and what it is that I've been through and why it is that I started these programs, this program, right? But before I was a single parent, and I traveled for work, and I didn't have family everywhere that we traveled to. My son and I, we would, Tulsa, Oklahoma, West Palm Beach, Florida. And as a single father coming out of prison, still reintegrating into society, on top of that, having the responsibility of another person's life, my son, I was just a provider. I look back now, in the last 2 years, I've really changed, ever since I've given my life over to God, and the path of my life has taken a different course. I've been able to sit back and reflect, and this is what I've taken out of my experiences. And I'm going to make this as short as possible for you guys. But like I said, with just a little bit more substance to it. So before I was a provider, I would provide clothes for my son. I'd take him to school. I'd make sure that he was being fed. I made sure that we did our yearly trip, wherever it was in the country, and that I spent minimal time with him. I would leave him with babysitters, people that I barely even knew in Tulsa. And I'd go to karaoke night, and I spend time with people, go to Garth Brooks concerts. And the whole time I just felt good about myself because, hey, I had a good job. I was providing for my son. I was giving him nice clothes. I was giving him nice trips. We had a nice vehicle. We had a nice home. He got to eat out everywhere and experience things that others didn't and weren't fortunate enough to. And we were blessed to experience these things. But, in the midst of all that, I've reflected and I look back and I know that it was a wasted time. I know that a lot of those things were for naught. There are some good memories in there that I have made with him, but I wasn't doing any parenting. I wasn't preparing him for life. I didn't have any structure in his life. I didn't have any discipline in his life. I didn't sit down and chat with him about those issues going on. He would come home telling me that he was being bullied, and I'd brush it off. I would yell at him instead of sitting down and teaching him to do things the right way. And up until 2 years ago, I never called him my son. I always just called him Juju by his nickname. So, I was just a provider. And now that I'm doing a lot more parenting, and I'm nowhere near even on the path of being perfect. It's not that I'm nowhere near perfect. I'm nowhere near the path of being perfect. But I will tell you this: I do try hard, and I parent hard, and I love him hard. And when I say love, you guys will hear me say this a lot. You'll hear me say this at the end of every show: is love your kids. But when I use the term love, it's not the love that you guys would typically think of. The love that we're normally taught here by earthly standards. When I say love, I mean I love him. I discipline him. I take the time. I put the effort. No matter how upset I get over the little things, I know that it's for a good. It's good. It's for a good cause. At the end of the day, it's to make him a better man, a better person. First and foremost, a better person. To make him a better man, and to help him grow up, and to have a life of security, a life of logic, a life of knowledge, and a life full of love, knowing that his father sacrificed for him. And I didn't do those things before. I would beat on him. Like I said, I would leave him with babysitters I barely knew. Man, I'll tell you guys a story, and think what you may think of me. And I think the same thing that you're going to think of me when I tell you this story. Believe me, I share with no shame. And I know that it's a POS, that I was a POS at the point in time that I'm telling you this story. But that's the thought I've had. That's the train of thought that I used to have. I wasn't a parent. I wasn't a dad. I was just a provider. But we first moved to Tulsa. I didn't have a babysitter yet. My son was 7 years old, and I went and picked him up, dropped him off at the house from school, and then I went back to work, and I left him alone until 9 p.m. And he was looking out the blinds. He was so scared and freaked out. We had just moved into this house. The neighbor, thank God, God's always had his hand in our life. The neighbor next door saw him peeking through the blinds and came over and asked him if he was okay. And then he explained to her, thank God I had just pulled up right after that. I explained to the woman what happened. I apologized. I knew inside it was wrong. I knew in my heart that it was wrong. But I just didn't have the care for him at that point. I fended for myself at 9 years old, for those of you that know my story. And that's the train of thought that I had with him, was that he'll fend for himself. But I reflect now, and I beat myself up over it. I used to. I know I'm forgiven now by him. I've sat down and I've deeply apologized to him about all of these things that I did do or didn't do, right? But now that I am parenting, and that's part of it, is sitting down and explaining these things with him and sharing these things with him and letting him know that I'm not perfect, and it was hard, and that you know what, I'm 38 right now, and up until I was 36, son, I didn't know how to be a father. I didn't know what it was to raise you, and I'm sorry, that time was lost. But we put forth our best effort now. And we keep on trucking together as a family, and our growth is amazing. We're building our house brick by brick. My wife, my son, which is his stepmother, and myself. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing when you really get involved with your kids, with your children, and you start parenting, and you feel that pride. It's like building a house when you see a wall go up, when you see the sinks get finished and the tile go in. It's a beautiful thing to look at. It's all your hard work and effort, and you're seeing it being built. And this is the same feeling I get with my son and my family and our relationship. And it's just something I want to share with you guys. I know that those one paragraph, or the paragraphs that I put up, sometimes are a little vague. I'm just trying to make my point. Thoughts that pop in my head, and I'll be doing these more frequently. For those of you that are tuning in or don't know what Real Talk is, Real Talk is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that takes members like myself from the community, people that have been incarcerated, people that have a story to share with these children, want to touch these children's hearts and change their path. We speak to at-risk kids, and in hopes of changing their path and direction that they're going. We have parenting groups along with it. We get the parents involved, trying to get the parents to become more involved and get them to communicate better so that there can be growth, and so we can help each other just be a better society in general. That's what Real Talk does. We typically provide funding for kids after school activities if funding is available. Unfortunately, with the COVID going on, we have stopped our classes. We're not doing those courses anymore at Southwest University, just to not have to put the kids at risk or parents at risk coming out for Real Talk. I've been getting asked, why don't we do it online? And I want to address that right now for anyone that's listening and anyone that cares. Um, we're not doing online because your kids are already doing online all day long with school and with their friends and FaceTiming, and they can't go out the house. So I don't want to, I don't want to be an added part to that. So we do these talks here. If you guys are interested in having your kids listen, follow us here on Real Talk EP on Facebook or at Real Talk Youth Impact Program EP there on YouTube. And have your kids tune in, just listen. You don't even have to have them watch it. You can just play it. They can hear our stories. We're going to be having some more interviewees coming on. If you're interested in coming on and speaking to our kids and speaking to these parents, and you have something to share and you want to remain anonymous, just your voice, I don't need to put your name up or anything, please reach out to me at 915-920-3996. Call us here or reach out to us through Facebook Messenger. Leave a comment, DM us, message us. We're trying to get people involved. You guys, don't be shy. I can hide your face. We can distort your voice. Whatever it is, you have something real that somebody needs to hear. You never know. You can be the difference, inspiration in somebody's life. You guys spread the word around. Anyone wants to come out and talk, please let us know. But if you do want your children to catch some of these real talks, some of these real stories of real issues that are happening that your child may very well face as they grow up in life, and this is something that you think is good for them to listen to or hear, follow us here so you can keep up to date with our episodes coming out. And thank you all for listening. I appreciate you guys. Remember our talk today. Be a parent. Don't be just a provider. Providing is part of parenting. Definitely. The money makes the world go round. No one is saying it doesn't. But invest. Invest. Your time is the most valuable thing on this earth. You can't put a price on it. It's you invest your money in cars and houses, and you invest your money in iPhones and all this other garbage and trash we don't need. Invest your time in your children. Be a parent. Step your game up. Step it up. It's not just for you, it's for me. Believe me, everything that comes out of my mouth goes into my ears first. I'm not just out here throwing stones or pointing fingers. Invest your time. That's the most precious thing you have, is your time and your children. Man, put those two things together, and the world would be a much better place. Until next time, signing out, this is your host, Julian Morales, CEO and Executive Director here at Real Talk Youth Impact Program EP. And as always, love your neighbor. Pray for your enemies. Pray for our country, for our law enforcement, and love